Hey everyone, and welcome back to KneeToKnee, the podcast all about men, connection, and becoming the kind of guy you actually want to be. I'm your host, Mark Merritt, and I'm pumped about the conversation that you're about to hear. My guest today is JD Tremblay, and here's what you need to know about him right up front. Out of 8 billion people on planet Earth, he is only one of 3 people to complete the Epic Deca. That's 10 Ironman triathlons in 10 days on 6 different Hawaiian islands. We're talking about over 1,400 total miles of swimming, hiking, and running, all while hopping on a plane and going to the next starting line to begin another day. And before we dive in, if this kind of conversation is hitting home for you, do me a favor and like this episode. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it now. We've got incredible conversations coming and you don't want to miss them. So here's what makes today so good. JD isn't here to brag. He's here to break down the system that made it possible and show you how that same system applies to you. Whether you're training for an ultra event or just trying to get off the couch and get back to the gym. JD Tremblay, the Deca framework, values before goals, and a whole lot of practical wisdom. Let's go and get KneeToKnee with JD. Welcome, everyone, to another episode of KneeToKnee. I am excited today. And as I was just talking to our guest, which is JD Tremblay, I was just talking to him a moment ago and said the more research I did about him, the more excited I got about having him on. And I know a lot of you, I've said it a million times in all of our episodes. I'm really excited about who we have. This is a unique one. We actually have JD is somebody, and you heard in the introduction, but JD is somebody who's one of 3 people, only 3 out of 8 billion people on the earth, which is just baffling to me, to have done what is called the Epic Deca. Now, JD, real quick, welcome, first of all. Love having you here. So welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thank you, Mark, for having me on the show.
Absolutely. And so the first thing I want to ask, because there's a lot of people, because when I saw Epic Deca, I was like, I have no idea what that is. Can you describe to us what an Epic Deca is?
The Epic Deca is based in Hawaii from the company Epic 5. They put on a race every year, Epic 5, which is 5 Ironman distance, which is 140.6 miles of swimming, biking, and running every single day for 5 days on 5 different Hawaiian islands. So not only do you do an Ironman, but then you fly to the next island. So that adds an extra challenge. Now, for their 10-year anniversary, they did the Deca, which in Latin means 10. The Epic Deca now doubled the distance.
Sorry, I'm laughing because I've done lots of competitive stuff, but I'm thinking, holy cow.
Yeah, it is quite the achievement. Again, there's nothing special about me. I don't have special genes I grew up, I did not have a lot of money. My parents are not fit. They are healthy, but they are not fit. They are not into any type of sports. My dad is quite happy about it too. He says that if he walks to school and back, when he was a teacher, that was his workout. So again, I come from this background. I made my own decision. I take responsibilities for my actions, but there's nothing special about me. I just followed certain systems, and I'm glad that now I get to live the life of sharing these systems.
Yeah, there's lots of questions that I have when it comes to having competed in different sports myself. And I actually raced hand cycles for several years after an accident I was in. So knowing what it's like to, on my long rides for a hand cycle, on my long days was 75, 80 miles. And that's a forever long ways to pedal with your arms. But I can't imagine doing that 10 days in a row and what that does from a physiological standpoint to your body, swim, bike, and run for that far. But you mentioned a program that you're doing. What are you doing? You mentioned when we were talking earlier, you said you understood the math, the biology, and all that. Describe what you're doing so that we have a general idea.
So at the Hungry Warrior Academy, we work on the DECA system based on the foundation of the EPIC. So we make acronyms with what we want to remember. So it's easier for us to remember
Yeah.
them and learn them. The DECA system is based on discipline, energy regulation, capacity, and action. So, do you have
Okay.
the discipline to follow through? The energy regulation, many people don't even know anything about it or think that JD is somehow special. Hence why I got the nickname the alien, was because
Okay.
yeah, it was because this guy who did these races did not understand how to use biology. It's not just understanding how the food gets processed or how it's not necessarily the system of how the food gets or which system the food is going to be affected by. It's how the food is being processed. That's what I meant.
Okay.
So, for example, for me, I understood that I needed a lot of sugar. I knew that I
Mhm.
needed a lot of sodium. And I also could not have anything in my system that was digesting for a long period of time. So I became a vegan during all of these ultra endurance events because I understood that food that sits in your system, you can't be at peak performance for a few days. Now, for a different athlete, I would recommend a different approach. But for me, that worked very well because, again, I could not I could not have food that stayed in my system for digesting for a long period. Now, that's
Hours and
one.
hours. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's one system, right? So then again, we take another acronym and then we go with BRAIN. And the BRAIN acronym, B is for blood chemistry, R is for recovery, which a lot of athletes are failing at it because
Yes.
slowing down will make you a better athlete. But and we've seen it in a few years ago. We had everybody was confined to their houses. We were not able to access certain spaces to train. And so a lot of athletes were on the couch and they were trying to train, but they were not able to achieve the same level of fitness that they used to have. That created a global recovery period for a lot of athletes, not all of them, but for a lot of athletes.
Yeah.
And we've seen increasing numbers in terms of athletics. So there is the engineering component that has to play into it. A lot of the engineering, I mean, say for instance the shoes, right? The shoes have changed a lot
Yeah.
in the last couple of years for running, so that's what I mean. Like the technology has changed, the engineering component has got into it. However, the recovery is a huge component. Attention is a so you need to regulate that attention. If right now I am on this podcast, I am focused on this podcast. My phone is off. I am not focused on anything else. And I would say that this is a huge marker for a lot of people. They get their attention span that is decreasing and they're unable to perform at their peak performance. And the difference between an amateur athlete or a professional athlete is the amount of time they will be able to focus on that specific task. So when you ask a football player, or even for me, when I did the Epic Deca, I was completely wired, focused on the Epic Deca. I I could have had anything that happened in the entire world. I would have focused only on the Epic Deca. That was my mission, and that is it, right? And that works for military members because when I served, it was exactly the same way that we would be trained. I is for inflammation, where a lot of people think that it's only based on food. When you are in an unhealthy relationship, and I don't mean boyfriend,
With people.
girlfriend, or
Yeah. Yeah.
housewife. Yeah, I mean, even your parents sometimes. I know that when I grew up, I grew up in a household that was 4 boys, one income. My dad did the best that he could, and it resulted in a lot of conflict in the house. I love my dad. He's coming this weekend. I'm going to have a great time with him. I'm taking some time off to just spend time with him. However, at that moment, he was not conducive to my growth. He understood that. I also understood that. And we parted ways. I removed my dad from my life. Now, I was forced in a way, but I was placed in a position where at the age of 17 years old, I had to understand that even your own parents can create certain types of inflammation, such as stress. Then again, later on in life, you understand and you build that resilience, and you can see that based on those stressors, now you're able to handle a bit more stress depending on it. But stress can create inflammation, and I'm a certified naturopathic practitioner. And when I went to school, one of the first thing they told us is that stress can create some physical damage to your systems, and those systems can eventually result in illnesses that go even as far as certain types of cancers. So
Okay. Wow.
now we're looking at not just an inflammation in terms of a relationship, but it's a type of frequency. It gets into your systems. And now we are really putting physical damages by something that is even in our surroundings. So be careful of the community that you're in. They might be conducive for certain tasks. In the military, I had some great friends. However, there were some things that I just did not partake in. That's it. I have some great friends, served, enjoy my time. However, there were certain things or certain activities I just did not part. And then the last one is for brain is N, which is the nervous system, which you have to regulate. For example, some people follow a trend of having a smoothie in the morning, cutting some fresh fruits and trying to be healthy, and
Right.
which is fantastic. However, if all of a sudden you
JD
wake up,
he throws in the caveat.
well, if all of a sudden you wake up in the morning, you have your cortisol level that is high, which is just normal for everybody. If you're unable to regulate it because you haven't prepared it, you can train yourself to decrease it much faster. But if you haven't trained for it, for the general population, your cortisol level will spike. It will spike in the morning and then stay there for, I would say, a few hours. Okay. Then you spike your insulin by just intaking a lot of fruits, and then you're going to add something sweet because it's not just that fruits or all of those ones that you put in them, but you're trying to eat healthy. And then what's going to happen if you spike your insulin? Well, you're essentially hurting your nervous system. And then all of a sudden you say, well, I'm going to go meditate. Do you really think you're going to be able to meditate if all of a sudden you just pack yourself with sugar and you have your cortisol level that is extremely high? Well, you're not going to be, but that's what they show on social media. They show you how that you can have a great life. Well, for them, it's working. Maybe they're going for a workout. So now they're using that sugar, or maybe they're just
Right.
going on the beach, which they're burning through the radiation of the sun by the thermal reaction that happens in your systems. So again, it's all certain things that many people would just not take into account. But when you look at it, and when you hire someone that looks at all of the systems, and these can't really be done with just AI, because are you really going to put every single one of them and then try to think about every single system that interacts with them? Which that's what I like about the beauty of it, is it's very simple. You follow brain, blood chemistry, recovery, attention, inflammation, nervous system. And then if you go down that list with brain, then you can structure your day and have a much more decisive and understand where you're going.
Yeah.
So for me, for the Epic Deca, that's exactly what I did. I looked at everything like that. I understood that
I
in
think
the
it's
morning.
the only way that I think it's the only way you could have done that, right?
Yeah.
That's such a big challenge for somebody who is just really trying to get back into things, even just getting up and going to the gym and starting is every bit for them is a difficult thing. So it's not just Epic Deca level, but this actually can apply to somebody who's just, I need to start going back to the gym.
If all of a sudden you need to get back to the gym, all right, we're going to take them right now. 5
Yeah.
things. Blood chemistry level. Do you really need sugar spike because you're going to the gym in the morning? If no, then you don't need that. There you go. Take some fat protein in the morning and then you're good. So leave the fruits or the ton of that's it. If all of a sudden
all the simple sugars, kind of push those simple sugars before you go work out. Yeah.
As soon as you go work out. And if you do eat them, then go for a walk immediately after. That's it. Okay. So then there's your blood chemistry.
Okay.
You don't need to understand insulin levels and all of that. You can do this with a professional or a certified. There are lots of people out there that can test for it, and then you can know more about it in the future. But if you understand just the basic, that's it. Right? Sugar, workout. Boom. Done. Okay. You don't need just the basic. Okay. Sugar, workout. Okay. And fruits, mainly carbs with fructose. And then there's fibers. So little fruits, honey, maybe maple because I'm Canadian. I got to add some maple.
You got to have your maple if you're, yeah, exactly.
A lot of it.
Yeah, exactly. So you liked the movie Elf?
Yes.
Yeah, where he's putting syrup on his spaghetti. Yeah, okay.
A funny fact is we did not grow up with a lot of money, but one of my uncle owned a maple farm and he was giving us giant crates of maple. And when I grew up, I would wake up in the middle of the night and sneak into those crates. Yeah, it's coming. So I used to grab like 500 milliliter of maple syrup and just chug this in the middle of the night instead of going for some water because I'm thirsty. And I grew up on maple syrup, just drinking it. Now looking at the price of it, I'm thinking, well.
And I got caught as a little kid. My dad was in the Army and we were in Fort Campbell, Kentucky. And I still remember the day that my mother opened the pantry and there I am sitting on the floor in the pantry. I was probably 6, 7, 8 years old. Big number 10 can or whatever of peanut butter. And I'm just eating peanut butter, right? She's just like, what in the world? So, I still love peanut butter, just like you. I mean, it's just like one of those, yeah, I got caught. You didn't get caught. I can't imagine drinking 500 milliliters of maple syrup.
Yeah, that's what I did.
Okay.
So then if we go back to that person who wants to get back in the gym,
right?
Normal guy, he understands the blood chemistry. He also understands that blood chemistry is not just about sugar. It's also about hydration.
Right.
And so you're going to need a little bit of electrolytes. If you sweat, okay? Now I'm saying if you sweat, you need electrolytes.
Right.
Okay? If you don't sweat, what you're doing is you're just trying to retain all of that water. And it's not because you pee clear that you are well hydrated. Because the way that it operates, right? And that works for all of the supplements is it works with absorption. So how well your body absorbs it into the entire system, not just ingest, right? There's a difference between the two. One is ingest as in putting it in your mouth, and then absorption is when it gets to your small intestine, then it goes into your bloodstream. Okay, so that's part of the blood chemistry. Okay, so then you have utilization. So are your cells ready to receive what you're giving it? Right? So if you just take a pill of magnesium, or if let's say you take a pill of vitamin D and it never gets activated in your system because you're low in magnesium, then you can you can never overdose on vitamin D. Okay, well that I've seen or that I've heard. I've never seen anyone overdosing on vitamin D, and I don't think it happens. So you ingest the vitamin D, it's not activated because you lack magnesium. So again, it's not utilized. So you can ingest a giant bottle of vitamin D, you're just not going to activate it. So same concept. And then you need to give it the environment to be activated also. So if all of a sudden you're putting a heavy metal inside of your system, which happens for a lot of people if they live by a plant or they eat with certain types of utensils, and there's a lot of components attached to it, then you're not going to have your system that is prepared and having the environment to absorb what you're giving it. So now it's not just about, well, stop sugar or stop salt. This isn't just about that. It's now about the blood chemistry, because now your sodium gets into your blood and now you understand the basic. What are the basic for sodium? If you sweat, you salt. That's it. Okay. The cheapest one
That's
you can
pretty basic.
find. That's pretty basic. Okay. So I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Haha. I'm going to put some maple on it.
Yeah, you went right where I was gonna go. Maybe a little maple syrup.
Oh, yeah, beat you to it. Yeah. So again, the blood chemistry is far more complex than what we tend to believe. Okay. But it's really comes down to, when you work out, to carbs and sodium. If you sweat, sodium.
Right.
If you need energy, which is quick energy, carbs. So that smoothie right before the gym. Or if you eat carbs, eat a dessert. What should you do? Go for a walk, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. That's it. That's all you need. You don't need to go for an Epic Deca every single time you eat a dessert.
Well, good, because I am so in trouble then.
If you only knew. This week, I won a contest, and it's this giant burger, because I wanted to prove that it was about math and about the mental capacity of someone, that you can ingest food. And so the guys were not believing me. And so I picked a restaurant that had a giant burger, 12 tenders in it, and you have half an hour to eat it with all the salad, the macaroni, and you have 30 minutes to eat all of it, right? And the burger's hot. And I did it. And I was not sick. So again, it's about math and about understanding how the biology works.
You haven't eaten since, but I was fine.
I mean, if my face was
Exactly.
but I was fine.
Yeah. No, I'm good. No, we're fine.
Right? I was on a first aid course and they were doing CPR and using me as a medic. That was fine.
The paramedics were looking at me going, man, this guy looks great.
So you eat sugar when you need it. Okay? If all of a sudden you eat a dessert, go walk for 5-10 minutes. That's a tip. A beautiful tip. If you sweat, if you don't do a workout that makes you sweat, why do you need to have that much salt? So that is why, because we've become so sedentary now that a lot of people are eating too much salt based on the amount of sweat that they will be having. But if you look at a guy like me, I wake up in the morning and the first thing that goes into my mouth is water with electrolytes, and it's calculated at 1,000 grams of sodium every morning. So every morning,
1,000 milligrams?
Milligrams of sodium, correct, yes. Yep.
Grams
of sodium, yep.
That's a lot of sodium.
Yep.
Okay.
So I take capsules and then I chug it. That's it. So but do I understand that I will be doing a workout that will make me sweat? Yes. I will be sweating, okay? Milligrams, by the way, not grams, okay? Yeah,
that's why I was like, wait, grams? Really?
Yeah, just to clarify it, right? Yeah. just to clarify it, right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I have a truck in my backyard, okay? And then I just pitchfork it. Yeah, I have big blocks of salt.
You're just out there. You're out there doing the salt lick.
Yeah, I have a big pool of salt, and then that's it, right? It goes in my mouth. Yeah, every morning.
That's why when you said gram, that's why I was like, wait, that's
what?
Woo.
This guy is.
What
does he really know blood chemistry?
Reminds me of when after my accident, and I'm in the hospital, and I didn't have my electrolytes were low, my blood sugar, my blood work was off, and they were like, you need more salt, and I. In the in and out of anesthesia fog I had for days, it was really interesting that my mother knew that I needed more salt. And so one of the only things I remember in that first 10 days was my mother feeding me food where she had put so much salt on it. It was just gaggy as could be. You're just like, just Mark, eat it. And I can only imagine if you're doing 1,000 grams of salt, that's where you're at.
Big bars of salt, right? Yeah.
Exactly. So tell
There
me
are
real quick.
there are some very tasty electrolytes out there. Use
Mhm.
Precision Fuel and Hydration because this company, what they do is they have capsule, and each capsule is just electrolytes. And then you know exactly what's in your system. So it's not mixed with some carbs it's
Right,
just
right.
exactly. So
Yeah.
again, if you understand just those two basics, your blood chemistry can be much better because you wake up in the morning, your cortisol level is high, but all of a sudden you go in and you say, well, JD said if I'm not going to go and work out in the morning, which the guy is just starting to work out or getting back into
Yeah.
it, then I don't need, I'm not saying all of it, but I don't need much. So I don't need a beautiful smoothie, which that person, the beauty of this tip is that this person meant well. They're eating
Mhm.
beautiful spinach and blueberries and strawberries and bananas and mango and very good intentions. But again, you're just spiking your insulin level. You're having
Right.
too much fructose in your blood. And then right now, you are not in a state of mind. Your whole system is meant to go to work, meaning go work out. So
Mhm.
maybe if you go and work out or if your job is physical, then yes. But if it's not, and you're not, and then again, with the salt, if you're sweating, salt. If not, maybe reduce it. That's it.
Right.
Generally
Yeah.
speaking, most people have enough salt in their diet, generally. Hey, you make yourself a steak, you put a lot of salt on it, not 1,000 grams, and then it's more
Would you
steak
like a
on the
little
salt at that point.
Yeah, would you like salt?
Exactly, I like that.
So there's a lot of good information that you shared with us today. And I can't tell you how much I appreciate that. And JD, I want to have you back on because there's so much we can talk about, right? As we're trying to help men find and navigate their way through things. And I think this is a great, and I appreciate the guy who's just getting started or just being able to do the basic stuff to help them stay focused and get better in a better, healthy place. But I am going to ask the final question that we ask all of our guests is what is one thing that our listeners can do today to build deeper connections with those around them? And I phrase it that way for you, and with a little bit of a caveat possibly, because you did not complete the Epic Deca by yourself, right? You had connections, you had people that were helping you to get through that process, right? So what is the one thing that someone can do that you would recommend today for them to build those types of deeper connections?
My best advice is always values before goals,
Okay.
and build that set of values before you get to your goal. We see it right now with a new type of generation that is going to universities and then they have no sense of values. For instance, we used to have a lot of Christian values. And then you go into
Mm-hmm.
university, and then there are certain activities that because you hold those Christian values, you will not partake in. Well, instead of just going through your goals or toward the goal and then choosing those goals, then you're choosing your value system first, and then your goals will come. Because you can pick a million set of goals, but a set of value that you will carry for your entire life, that is what will give you that direction to lead your life. For example, you talked about community. Well, for me, I'm a Christian. So it talks
Mm-hmm.
about relationship with Jesus, my savior. It talks about also in the hierarchy, my wife, when I'll have one. It talks about my children. It talks about the community. So how to behave with those people. And then after this, I can choose a goal based on my value. So I will not
Right.
partake in certain activities because my value system is already set, as opposed to the contrary, where some coaches or some people that mean well are saying, you want to get out of a depression? Go pick a goal, pick a race, pick something that you have to look really far, or even a
Right.
small goal, and try to accomplish something every day. Where instead of trying to achieve that goal, what you're doing is you're removing yourself from all of these sometimes negative opinions, and sometimes they're positive, but you are setting your values, being serious about it, following them, and then all your goals they can come at a later time. So the best advice for today from me is values before goals.
And that's awesome. And I can see that you set your values, and you mentioned before, is that is what's going to help drive those deeper connections, whether it's, with God, with whatever your belief system is on a religious side, but also with those individuals, your other brothers in the world, your wife, your kids, and all that. So that is what helps drive those. So JD, thank you so much for coming on today. I feel like I've been fire hosed. There's been a lot of great information. And so I sure appreciate you taking the time with us.
Amazing. Well, thanks for having me, Mark.
Absolutely. And those of you that stayed and listened, thank you so much for joining us on KneeToKnee. And for, if you have a chance, like, subscribe, all the stuff that YouTube and the other algorithms want to have us do. So we want to get more of this information and message out to help more men to be able to navigate the world around them. So thank you again for joining us, and we will get you on the next go around. Thanks. We'll see you. All right.